Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Meebits Podcast. I'm Sergito, your host, and I am really happy to be back in New York after an incredible weekend out in Palo Alto at Node, where I saw a really good friend of the Meebs, a really good friend of the space, one of the greatest collectors that we have here, Adam Hollander, CMO of OpenSea, who's joining us for today's episode. Adam, welcome.
Appreciate you having me.
Man, it was an exciting, 3-4 days in Palo Alto, Node, CryptoPunks, art, the community. I just want to get your first reaction. Let's jump right into it. What was coming back home after that weekend? What did you tell your family? How are you feeling about the space since?
Yeah, hell yeah. Look, it was an amazing event. And actually, we've had a couple really amazing physical moments for our space this last year between, Marfa with Art Blocks and then everything that happened with Art Basel in Miami. And then this Node event really just set a new bar. I was saying to a bunch of people at OpenSea that, sometimes in this space, you can get a little lost and even depressed spending so much time on crypto Twitter and, all of the, passionate back and forth. And I have to say that when you go to an event like Node and you're surrounded with hundreds of people that are just really there for very different reasons, and they're there because they really appreciate art and digital ownership and blockchain technology and community and culture, and every conversation you have is people that have been around for years and years and are just so enthusiastically just motivated by all the same things that you are. It really re-energizes you. And so I came back from Node. I was just really, really psyched. And of course, the event itself, just seeing, how far CryptoPunks have come and, getting to spend time with Matt and John and just the truly incredible job that the Node Foundation and Stone and everybody did to put that event on. It was really something that I think everybody that attended will remember for a long time.
Yeah, I know it was a very exciting weekend. I'm still just vibing, feeling so good about having seen everybody that, might see each other once every few months, once every few years. I feel like Web3 events, you get the most honest hugs that you'll ever get in your life. It's just true friendship, people that care about the same things as you mentioned. And really, we're on a really good roll of live events for art and NFTs. You mentioned Marfa. Obviously, we had the Toledo Museum of Art weekend and then Basel. A lot of events sponsored and supported by OpenSea, for which we're very, very grateful. You guys have really put the industry on your back, especially as, we're kind of hitting a really rough time when it comes to pricing on spot and everything else that's going on. And I do want to touch into OpenSea 2.0. But before we get there, tell us a little bit more about yourself. As I said at the intro, I think you're a true collector. When I think of you, it's somebody who collected stuff all his life or for a long time. I mean, you can just see it in your backdrop, a bunch of different IPs, different collectibles. I feel the times that you and I have interacted have been over Pokemon cards or things like that. So who's Adam and how did you end up in Web3?
Yeah, appreciate that. And if you can't tell from the backdrop, I am a nerdy collector of things, both digital and physical, as I tell anybody that I jump on a video call with. Look, I've been collecting things ever since I was very little. I remember, collecting baseball cards. I was playing Magic. I, have collected these statues for, many, many years. And I just like collecting nerdy things that remind me of my childhood. My kids and I, do a lot with Pokemon cards. And of course, I'm still a very avid collector of NFTs and spend a huge amount of time on that side of the fence. How did I get into the space? So I guess it depends on what you consider my real entry. I've been buying Bitcoin for a very long time, admittedly buying and unfortunately selling. And so it's not like I, bought early and held this whole time, but I've been buying Bitcoin since I think 2016, 2017, around that era. My first NFT that I ever minted was a crypto kitty back in 2017. And so I am proud to still have that kitty and the ones that it sired in my original hot wallet, which makes me, happy to look back on. I can't say I fully appreciated the power of what NFTs really represented in terms of digital ownership and everything else until much later. And so, CryptoKitties were more of a sort of fun, novel experiment that I played around with for a couple of weeks. And then they sat in my wallet for years until 2021. At that point, I had heard that people were buying digital land and that there was this, digital land rush with Decentraland. And so I went on and I bought my very first plot of digital land, and I was telling, everybody about it. And then funny as the story goes, the next day I logged in and I saw another plot of land go up for sale. And I was like, damn it, that would have been a much better one to buy. And so I put mine up for sale and it sold almost immediately for a couple $100 more than I paid for it. And I was like, wait a second, like, I wonder if I could do that again. And so I went through a period of time for a couple of weeks where I was like a, digital real estate, land flipper. And I had a lot of fun with that. But I was in the Discord and everybody was just talking over and over again at that point about Bored Ape Yacht Club. So I went and figured out what that was, and I joined that Discord. And I guess the rest is history. I, bought a mutant, and then a couple of weeks later, I bought my ape, and then I spent years buying literally everything else and being really involved with every other community. And yeah, look, it's been a wild ride, culminating at this point, seemingly, and getting to have this incredible opportunity to run marketing at the level of scale that we do at OpenSea, and being able to help and impact the space. And it's really just a privilege to get to work with the people that I do at OpenSea and to get to support events like, Marfa and Art Basel and Node and others, getting to meet incredible folks like yourself. It's really just been a wild ride and a privilege.
Amazing. I totally forgot that I was into Metaverse Land 2 there for a hot second. That's actually, how I first started making friends in NFTs. Was an old DAO that we called Metaverse DAO, and it bought CryptoVoxel's land, and that led into like so many good friendships, turned into Neon DAO and this whole thing. That was a good throwback. I never went into Decentraland because I was more into the pixelated stuff because of the punks. But that's quite the ride. I mean, it's been like 5 years since 21, obviously a little bit longer since CryptoKitties. Obviously, a lot has happened, and along those lines, OpenSea has transformed itself many times, while always being like the leading marketplace. Tell me a little bit more about how you saw OpenSea before you joined, and then now how you and leadership is taking forward this new vision of OpenSea 2.0 and what your experience is helping them drive towards.
Yeah, it's a great question. And so if I think back to almost a year ago now, when I first met Devin, CEO of OpenSea, he spent several hours on the phone with me telling me about the broader vision for what OpenSea was about to evolve into. And it was really an exciting moment for me to hear that directly from someone like Devin, that of course had been through tremendous ups and downs of, the market and the industry that we love so much. And what we've been working on over the course of the last year is not shifting where OpenSea is focused, but really expanding and evolving what we want people to perceive when they think about OpenSea. And so, if you ask a lot of people from, the last few years, what is OpenSea? Most people would respond and say it's the world's leading NFT marketplace. And yes, we are that. But what we're really trying to do is to evolve OpenSea into a single place where you can do and trade anything on chain. And we want to abstract away a lot of the complexity that exists that prevents people from really adopting crypto and Web3 in the way that we all know it today. And so, today, no matter what it is that you want to do, you have to be thinking about, what blockchain are you on, and what app are you using, and what wallet are you using, and what types of assets are you trading, whether it be, major crypto or meme coins or NFTs or prediction markets or perps on Hyperliquid. And what we want people to view OpenSea as is a single home for all of it, and a place that you can come that no matter what it is that you want to do, no matter what wallet you want to be using, no matter what blockchain you want to be transacting on, no matter what asset type you want to be engaging with, that you can do it seamlessly and easily on OpenSea. And we've taken some major strides in that direction. And so if you go to OpenSea today, you can trade major crypto. You can trade meme coins and other tokens across 24 blockchains. You can do it really easily and seamlessly. We just brought Ink blockchain from Kraken on last week, and we did a commemorative mint. Now, if you think about a mint on a brand new blockchain, rewind back a year, what would you have to do to go and mint that NFT, even if it was free? You would have to figure out how to bridge funds over to that blockchain, and then you'd have to figure out how to use that for gas fees, and then you'd get the NFT on this chain that might show up in a completely different UI and UX than all of your other assets and all of your other chains. And what happened last week was a really stark difference. You could go to this commemorative mint. I happened to be logged in with Phantom, my Solana wallet, and I minted an NFT on Ink blockchain, which is an EVM chain, with Solana on my Phantom wallet, and had it land in my EVM hot wallet with a click of one button. And that's something that was really kind of powerful to feel in that moment. We are continuing to evolve. We, have announced that Perps and Hyperliquid are coming to OpenSea. OS Mobile is coming out in a couple of months. And now not only will you have all of your assets and all of your wallets and all of your blockchains all in one place in one portfolio, but you'll also have it directly in your pocket. And I really do believe that when people experience this, they're going to start thinking about OpenSea very differently and associating the way that they perceive OpenSea very differently, hopefully in the way that they start using it as their one-stop shop home for everything that they want to do on chain.
I love that. And like so many things to ask you about. I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is just, you said it's kind of it's a rough spot for the industry. We had a lot of platforms and marketplaces shut down, but you guys are just doubling, tripling down and really expanding on top of the foundation that you built for NFTs. Obviously, a lot of new product lines, obviously trying to expand your own market, but OpenSea is still kind of like the home for NFTs. So I guess my follow-up for you right now is, how do you guys internally see NFTs, both the industry going forward as well as the role that OpenSea plays in that world?
Yeah, look, NFTs are foundational to OpenSea, and they're a true differentiator in this strategy, because if you think about a lot of other platforms that are trying to consolidate ways to interact on chain, very few of them offer NFT and creator functionality, and very few of them do it well. And so NFTs, we believe, are one of the core ways that people will interact on chain. And look, the power of true infallible digital ownership and what that can do to industries like, gaming or financial markets or any number of others is still extremely powerful. I think it will grow over time. I think the way that people leverage NFTs will continue to evolve and adapt and change. And I think we're seeing fewer and fewer people use them as a mechanism for speculation and gambling. And instead, people are using them for a real mode of digital ownership and membership and the ability to collect things and the ability to even prove ownership in the real world through, RWAs. And you see what people are doing with, Pokemon cards and the like. And I think that NFTs, as you continue to look at OpenSea as a platform, will always be very core and foundational to our business and the way that we go to market. But we do view NFTs as one asset type of a variety of different ways that broader people are going to interact on chain. And so, today we do have people that are trading perps. We do have people that, are engaging with prediction markets. There are probably a dozen ways that people will interact meaningfully on chain that we haven't even thought of yet. And OpenSea really wants to build the rails and the platform to be able to support all of that and be viewed as the home for anybody that wants to do anything on chain. At the same time, we of course want to make sure that creators and artists and folks that are very passionate about NFTs know that, again, we are not shifting, we are not pivoting our direction, we're expanding and evolving, and NFTs will always be very core and foundational to how we act and operate as a business, and we'll continue to support them in the way that you so eloquently shared at the beginning of this call. OpenSea has, even just in past months with a lot of these major events.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's palpable, the support. I mean, you guys, sponsored Meebits Cafe, helped us put that out. That was amazing event around Node Weekend, and then so many other things that you guys have done for many different communities, not just PFPs, but art. It's really a huge undertaking, which is, we're pretty proud that the first thing that we did when we started Meepco almost a year now to the date was, signing a partnership with OpenSea, making you guys our official, third-party marketplace, and really building alongside, because we do share that vision for NFTs, identity. It's just, I think, we know it's the future. It's just a matter of getting there. And it's been really interesting to watch you guys kind of build. There's two things that I want to ask, complementary to what you just said, and feel free to answer them alongside, or we can talk about one and then the other. Sure. But the first thing that was very noticeable was you guys hired from the community, which I think was something that had been missing for a while from, like, not just OpenSea, but so many other platforms that were, big foundational parts of the space, but that maybe had not really, had the best, I don't want to say relationship, just communication with people that were like in the trenches, as we call it now. And then the other thing is you bought Rally, you brought over Chris and that team to build out mobile, but those have a lot of experience building from the ground up. So yeah, those two developments really stood out to me, and I wonder if you could share more as to how the team approached it, and how is that going to help you guys really reach this goal that you have to become the home for everything on chain.
Yeah, appreciate the questions. So I'll answer in a couple of ways. It's funny, when I interview people to come work at OpenSea, one of the things that I tell them very candidly is that OpenSea is not really a work-life balance kind of company. We expect a lot out of people that work at OpenSea. We have a very high bar for excellence. People are working very hard. They need to be exceptional at what they do. And the way that you find the right people to work in a company like that with that kind of work ethic and ethos is you need to find people that are really passionate about what it is that they're doing and building and working towards. And I actually think that if you come to work for OpenSea and you don't really care that much about blockchain and the technology and NFTs and art and community and culture and trading and everything that we're doing and building, you probably aren't going to thrive in this environment. The thing that keeps folks like me really energized and excited, and the whole marketing team that we have and have brought on over time, is that everybody that works at OpenSea loves this space, and they really do care about moving it forward in the right direction. And we're constantly having debate, not just about what's right for the business at an OpenSea level, but what are we doing to really move the space forward and really create opportunities for mass adoption. And so I think when you talk about, bringing folks like Rally on, with, Chris and the whole, engineering team underneath him, it's been really powerful because, one, that whole team is extremely passionate about our space and what they do and what they're building. They are the best in the world at it, which was largely the reason for the acquisition. And I think people will feel that when they first experience OS Mobile in the coming weeks and months. And it enables us to operate as, on one hand, OpenSea is a decent sized brand. It's a decent sized company. It's, well funded with a lot of runway. But at the same time, it operates day to day almost like a scrappy startup. And that means that people have a lot of ownership. They get to act very entrepreneurially. There's not a lot of bureaucracy. And it really is just a group of exceptional people that are very, very good at what they do, that are very curious about new technology and, usage of AI as an example, and are really passionate about what they're building. And hopefully that's, coming through in what we're actually bringing to market, not just, from a product perspective, but even from, a messaging perspective, an ethos perspective, the way that we show up at events and the like. I would hope that people are starting to feel that come through.
No, definitely. Like I said earlier, it's very palpable versus previous years, especially in a space now that it's definitely having some of the slower days. So props to you guys and the team for putting together such a, I would say, like, innovative approach to building in crypto, because I think there's a very thin line between hiring KOLs to do your marketing, or just actually bringing folks that are deep in the space that love it. And that, to your point, I mean, every time we ping the OpenSea Meebits Slack, regardless of the time of the day, somebody picks up, and it's really nice to have partners like that. So that obviously also comes across. As you were talking, I was thinking Adam was one of us on the outside, and now he's at the controls of this big behemoth. You see a lot of data, especially as you're building new products, as you're bringing on new blockchains. What is like some of the consumer behavior, like trader behavior, collector behavior that you were unaware of, but now that you have insight into it, that has surprised you the most now that you've been at OpenSea for, what is it, like a year and a half?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. What surprised me? So, look, I think what we are seeing at OpenSea is that people really do want to trade multiple asset types and multiple blockchains all in one place. And so we are seeing huge adoption of token trading at OpenSea, in addition to the NFT volume that we, have always had historically. We are seeing people do a lot more cross-chain than we ever did, even when I started at OpenSea. And so I think abstracting away some of the complexity of what wallet you have connected, or what type of asset you're buying, or what blockchain you're on, or what currency you're using, to just being able to do the thing that you want to do, trade the thing you want to trade, buy the thing that you want to be able to buy. I wouldn't say it's surprising to me as much as it's been really encouraging to see that level of adoption. And so I think what's most exciting for me is that we have this brand, we have this platform, we have this user base that are very passionate about the space, very passionate about OpenSea, very passionate about community and culture and art and collecting and all the things that go along with NFTs. But we also recognize that those same people are going to want to do token trading. They're going to want to be, trading meme coins. They're going to want to be using prediction markets. They're going to want to be doing, future trading on Hyperliquid. And so we want to be able to support all of that. And I think that, again, it's not surprising that we're moving in this direction, but I'll say the velocity of adoption, the fact that we're seeing this many people trading at these kind of volumes so quickly after releasing OS2, and even before we have, a really great mobile product to market, I think has been very encouraging, and gives me a lot of optimism for the next year.
That's awesome. Now let me put my devil's advocate hat on for a second, because obviously the art side of the space is always, I think, it feels like it's always overlooked once trading and tokens and blockchains start kind of just becoming, to your point, there's more people that want to do that. There's more people that want to trade meme coins, that sadly people that want to collect fine art. That's just the same thing happens in the real world. There's more lottery ticket buyers at the deli down the street than there are people going and buying paintings at Basel. So that's reality, but sometimes it does feel like art gets crowded out, especially from spaces like ours, where it plays such an important role for culture, such a pillar. Again, Node, all the big, real cool events, they were not like meme coin events. They were not like, perps events. They're cultural, art-driven events. How are you guys balancing that approach between, growing the offering for all the clients that you guys have and you're trying to acquire, while also maintaining that core, NFTs, digital art, artists, empowering creators, and so on?
Yeah, look, I would challenge the premise a little bit to say that I don't think it's about an if, it's much more of a when. If you look back at Basel, the large majority of people were crowded around Beeple's exhibition. And that was the thing that everybody was talking about and hearing about. And everybody was extremely excited to be at the 0-10, aspect of what was going on at Basel comparatively. I think that, look, the world is getting more and more digital. That's not going to change, and it's going to continue to move in that direction. I still believe the same things I was saying years ago when we were all, excited about the metaverse and everything else, that people are going to care more and more about their digital identity and what they own digitally. They will be spending more and more time in digital spaces. And I think people are getting more and more comfortable around the idea of collecting things digitally and having that really mean something. And so, look, as I said earlier, this is always going to be a very core foundational part of OpenSea's business. We revamped our creator studio in a really meaningful way to make it much easier for artists to bring their work on chain, and where they don't really have to be developers. They can go through almost like a Wix style, ability to build their contracts and their collections, and to, get it on chain, and to begin to monetize their art and their collectibles in ways that might have been much more difficult or costly prior. OpenSea continues to support wherever we can. And so, you mentioned, we had a major role and sponsored a variety of events at Marfa. We, had a major role and sponsored 010 at Basel. We, of course, were not, sponsoring Node. That event was put on by the Node Foundation, but we were out there and we were filming and we were doing interviews and we had our, Punks Brunch nearby. And, there's a variety of ways that we try to make sure that our community, the users of OpenSea, know that we do care very deeply about artists. We do care about NFTs and the NFT technology. We do care about creators, and we will continue to support in any way that we can. At the same time, we are making sure that we focus on where we are headed and what we need to evolve into to be able to continue that support. And I think that a lot of people that might see us spending time on, token trading or perps or, a number of other things that aren't specific to, collectors or to artists. But if we can drive our business forward and if we can bring lots and more people into the platform that are trading those types of assets across more blockchains, and then they are in this one place where they also now can start collecting NFTs and RWAs and art and getting involved in all those other ways, I view it as actually a way to really move the space forward and a way to encourage broader support and adoption from larger audiences into a platform that might be difficult to attract them otherwise.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I've been able to support some of my artist friends or just creators that have dropped collections in OpenSea, maybe on chains where I don't have funds. And you mentioned a few times, the cross chain minting. It has been such a huge lifesaver for me because I'm like, yeah, I'll support you, but oh my God, bridging to this other chain and then you have dust and just it's not something that I want to do. And I love that I can just go in there, click and mint with not just mainnet ETH, but ApeCoin on ApeChain or like you said, Solana on something else. That to me has been such a really easy way to see how you guys growing your platform and growing the offering, stuff that might not always be, art focus, has enabled somebody like myself, a user, a collector, to support creators utilizing those tools. So yeah, that's awesome to see it come to fruition.
Appreciate that.
All right, let's switch back a little bit to Adam Hollander, the collector. You mentioned something that I've not somebody heard, which is I'm a collector of nerdy things. But I see, Mario, I see Pikachu back there, pretty mainstream. So what is actually nerdy that people will not imagine that you have in your physical collection?
Oh gosh, in my physical collection, I'd have to take a look behind me. Look, I've been collecting these statues for a really long time. Some of them are from companies where you'd have to pre-order and then they would make these resin statues by hand and then they would arrive, 18 months, 24 months later. And so there was a period of my life where I was literally pre-ordering these statues for, $400 or $500, $600 a piece. And then I would almost forget that I did it. And then 2 years later, this giant box would arrive at my door. And you can't see the entirety of this behind me. I'm almost scared to move the camera, but it's a very large shelf with a lot of stuff that I've collected over the years. So I don't know. I mean, I consider, Pokemon statue collecting a nerdy hobby. Maybe to you, it's more mainstream. I think my wife would disagree. I've gotten into Pokemon cards a lot recently. And so I've been playing Pokemon Go since the day that it came out. I have broadly considered it to be one of just the most fun video games ever created. Of course, I remember back to when, hundreds of people were walking around parks back in, the day it was released. But there are still tens, if not hundreds of millions of people that play this game every day. I have a full Pokedex. And so every single Pokemon, I think there's 930 or so that have been released in the game. I have every single one. Very proud of that fact. And for those that have seen me physically, they know that I wear Pokemon Crocs almost everywhere that I go, which is a pretty nerdy fun fact. But I had never gotten into the cards before. And so it was always one of those things. It's like, yeah, I probably should collect Pokemon cards. I'd probably have a lot of fun with that, but I just never got into it. And then my kids started getting older, and my 6-year-old started getting into it, and, taking cards home like that, his friend would give him a play date or something like that. And so it just triggered in me. And I said, you know what? That's it. Like, I'm in. And over the last 3 or 4 months, we've probably ripped 3,000 Pokemon card packs in my household. I would literally be meeting people from Marketplace over lunch and buying like 300-400 packs in these, big cartons. And I would just come home at night and, we'd be ripping them open. And it was so much fun to do with my kids. And then I posted, I think it was yesterday, the days are kind of blurring together, but we actually got a gold Charizard out of a pack, and I gave it to my son, and it's like his prized possession now. Like the next morning, he literally woke up 6 a.m. and he knocks on the door to my office. I'm already at the computer, and he's just like, so like, this gold Charizard, and he's, trying to talk to me about it. He wants to know if like we should grade it. And it's just been so much fun. And it's been really fun for me because I'm collecting sets now, and I've got binders upon binders of master sets that we're trying to build in the background. So yeah, I don't know. I could go on and on, but I am definitely a very real nerdy collector of things.
That's amazing. I'm jealous, man. You're right. Like Pokemon was nerdy when we were in like middle school and high school, I guess.
I'm glad you don't think it's nerdy anymore. You should tell my wife. She'd give me more credit
the
for
biggest
walking around
IP in the world, right? That's why I'm like thinking like, yeah. But a couple of things. By the way, like I was a big Pokemon trading card game player. I actually went and I won the the Texas regionals for the Super Tourney Showdown. So I went to like nationals for it in 2000. I was on board the Queen Mary 2 in LA. And it is my favorite memory with my dad going that weekend to LA to play the tournament. I had won in Houston.
That's amazing. What a cool memory.
And I actually just found some pictures from that event because they gave us packs and packs as like awards and gifts and whatever. Obviously, I ripped them all and I wish I had them. I never really collected them. I just played the cards. Luckily, I did like a year and a half ago, found my old binder. And I do have a lot of like holos and stuff that I would love to never sell or never give away. So I'm jealous because like I can't wait to have kids so I can get into the fact that apparently there's like 1,000 or 1,500 Pokemon now. Like my days were 151 and that was it. We had like 50 more, but I was already kind of like aging out. So like,
there's 1,025 now. So it's a lot of Pokemon.
Wow, that's amazing. And we went to Japan, and obviously I went to the Pokemon Center. It was like a lifelong dream, and I bought as many as they would sell me of the packs, and I started ripping them in the hotel room. And Mrs. Sergito was like, "You're right, it's nerdy." She was like, "What? Why? Like, what are you doing?" But I quickly realized I had no connection to the new Pokemon. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to save them for, hopefully one day God gives us, some kids, and then I can like rip them with them and start that journey that you and your kids are.
Well, Pokemon Go was my foray really into Pokemon. I wasn't into Pokemon before that. I was born, I think, a little too late to really have it be a big part of my life. I was collecting Magic cards, when I was a teenager. And so Pokemon Go, though, because I've played it, a few minutes a day, every day now for 10 years, every time new Pokemon get introduced, I know about the Pokemon. And fun fact, the PvP in Pokemon Go, which is both an extremely simple but also ludicrously complex game for anybody that's played it. There was a period of time, this was when I had a lot more time on my hands. I don't play it anymore, but I was ranked number 21 in the world in the first couple of seasons of Pokemon Go PvP. And that was when there were, tens of millions of people playing this game. And there was actually a global leaderboard. And I've got screenshots of my name next to number 21 at one point. And so to get good at that game, you had to learn all the Pokemon. You had to learn like what their moves were and what their strengths were and what their weaknesses are. And like if somebody like moves one in, you need to know exactly how yours are going to interact with it. And so I quite literally was studying for like a year. Learning all about Pokemon. Again, this is, 7-8 years ago when I had quite a bit more time on my hands than I do now. But it was a really fun way to learn about hundreds and hundreds of different Pokemon that now as we're opening these packs, I recognize almost everything that's coming out of the packs, which is a lot of fun.
Maybe that's what I should do. So it's funny that you say that because I actually have never downloaded Pokemon Go as much as I love Pokemon.
Oh
And
man, Pokemon Go's great, man. It's like this crazy global treasure hunt. I mean,
I
you have to
know, and that
physically
was a
go
problem.
to other places in the world. You have to go to, certain biomes where it's cold or near the beach or, in certain parts of the world. Like it's really crazy. Like honestly, I think to collect all 930 or so of the available Pokemon in Pokemon Go probably would take thousands of hours and travel at this point for anybody to accomplish. And the only reason I've been able to do it is I did it very slowly over a 10-year period. But it's a very vastly complicated, very cool concept to have to physically go out into the world and find all of these things. It's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. For me, it was like I have an addictive personality. Like I know that. I've made peace with it. And I was like, if I download this game, I'm just going to be. So I saw everybody around me like obsessed with it here in New York. And I was like, I cannot download. I don't have any games on my phone because I know myself. And it was like Pokemon and everybody's so happy. Like, I'm like, nope, never. And the funny thing is one of the first nights that, Mrs. Sergito and I kind of like had some time to just go out and have fun. I was with some friends who had came to visit from Texas, and we were at a bar, and they were like, dude, I think there was like a Charizard or something that just popped up in Central Park and we all have to go get it. And I was like, guys, I'm not going, but you guys can go. And they left me behind. And I was texting with her. I was like, literally my friends left to go play Pokemon in Central Park. She's like, oh, I can stop by if you want to have a drink. And literally that was like the first night we were like, oh, there might be something here.
Oh my
so
gosh,
that's the role Pokemon Go has played in my life. But now you mentioned, because I need to know all these other Pokemon because it's so many of them.
Yeah, man, you gotta do a few years of prep before you got kids getting into it.
I should start doing the work. Like, yeah, I'm getting ready for kids. Oh, what, you're eating better? No, I'm playing Pokemon.
Love it.
Oh man, no, such good memories. What do you think is you obviously 10 years of playing Pokemon Go? Many years of collecting physical statues, like you said, ordering something, waiting 8 months for it to show up. Obviously, that world is gigantic. What do you think is missing from having that same kind of appeal for NFTs? I think you and I and everybody probably watching this agrees, like, we love this. Your point, like, we're passionate about it. We think this is the future. The world's digital. Most marriages now start from digital interactions on, dating apps. Social media has become this whole, behemoth. The largest companies in the world all create digital products. But why hasn't digital collecting taken off as much? I mean, this is like the last 5 minutes of you and I talking about Pokemon collecting. It's probably the most lively conversation we've had on this podcast. And we had some really good guests and some really smart conversations. Don't get me wrong. But like, I'm the most animated I've been just thinking about collecting Pokemon cards. What do you think is missing to translate that into collecting NFTs?
Yeah, look, I think it's back to what I said about art earlier. I think it's more about a when than an if. And I think that if I think back to 2021, when I really deeply got involved into NFTs, it felt to me for the very first time in decades like when I used to play EverQuest and World of Warcraft. It felt to me like there was this sense of, sort of nerdy community and culture and, sort of shared goals, even if the goals were financial oriented goals. And I think that the collecting combined with community and membership really felt very special to me. I think that is still there. It's just that if we're being honest with ourselves, we know that the large majority of people that bought NFTs back in 2021, 2022 were doing it, even if they said out loud that they really cared about, the art or the utility or the community or the culture, anything else. Really, most of them, what they cared about was money. What they really cared about was speculation and gambling. And when you have a majority of a community that cares mostly about that, it actually takes away from the ability for that community, I think, to really thrive in the way that I was just describing. People back in the day weren't playing EverQuest and World of Warcraft for financial gain. They were playing it because of the love of the game. They were playing it because it was challenging, because they could, engage and interact and build community with like-minded people. And yes, you could collect things, but you could then collect them and show them off in front of people that would genuinely understand, what it took to have those achievements. And I think that you can accomplish a lot of the same things with NFTs, but to some extent, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have a financial element. I'm not saying it's a bad thing for people to speculate or gamble. It's not like, for shame, you're doing NFTs wrong. Like, no, that can be a big part of all of this. But I think when it's a large majority, when it's, 95%, it makes it really hard for the rest to thrive. And I think that when we have these, downtimes in the market, it actually represents a lot of opportunity for real communities to form and for real bonds to form and for founders that really care and are showing up like yourself that, are doing this for, I guess I hesitate to say the right reasons, but, what I consider to be, much better reasons than just caring about the financial aspect of this. I think that's what's going to inevitably allow us to drive this forward. I also think removing some of the stigma around it, it's funny, like gamers traditionally don't like crypto and blockchain and, the whole idea of, game assets being on chain. They're like, no way. Like, and it's so crazy because they should be the ones that are most enthusiastic about this, taking ownership of your assets. And, if you bust your ass to get that, really rare sword off of a boss in a game, it takes you 30, 40 hours of your life to do, it kind of sucks if you stop playing that game and then that sword's just stuck on the centralized servers of the company that made it. And if you never play it again, then you never see it again. There's so much potential for NFTs and blockchain to affect industries like gaming in a meaningful way where people take real ownership over their assets and their achievements and their progress. And I do think that will come. I really do believe that it's inevitable. It just, we're going through a phase where because it's been so financialized, because it's been almost misused for, so many years in terms of, gambling and, so many people have taken advantage of others through it, that it has this stigma associated with it. And I think that it might just take a little time for it to wear off and for, real use cases to prevail and real companies to prevail and good actors to prevail. And look, we're here for it. Like OpenSea is really excited about everything that we're building. We're excited about the trajectory. We are excited about the foundation of digital ownership and NFTs and, what got us here. And I think the next couple of years are going to be a lot of fun. But we'll, of course, continue to see ups and downs on the financial side of things. And that's just sort of part of the space and part of being involved in anything early.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because like there's so much convexity to price. And it is, to your point, what makes it fun when it's going up. But then it sometimes takes too much away when it's going down, especially for folks that if you're here, you're not going to, trade or flip or try to sell tomorrow. Like, who really cares what, I always say, like, it's really funny to me to see like grown ass men feel bad about themselves because, the price of something else that is literally established by another set of grown ass men in the market is lower than it was yesterday. It's like, okay, if I buy something that I like physical, I'm not going on eBay every other day to check, what the secondary market is. Like I enjoy it or I don't.
You're getting at the heart of it. It's that we need more people that are participating in the space and buying NFTs and art and collectibles because they genuinely want them instead of just speculating on the future value of them. And if you're doing the latter, that's okay. But then people need to take responsibility for their own gambling and they need to recognize that there are things that are going to happen. And hopefully, the same way that you'd tell somebody, don't go to Vegas and gamble away money that you can't afford to lose, hopefully they do the same thing if that's how they are treating, whether it be tokens or coins or NFTs or the like. But I would much rather see people buy things for the love of it and because they really love the art, they really want to collect the thing, they really care about the community or the culture or the utility behind it. And if you buy something because you genuinely love it, then you don't have the burden of necessarily caring as much about what the price is of the thing on any given day.
Well, I love to hear that because you're somebody who buys stuff that you love. And one of your latest acquisitions was a very handsome Meebit.
Hell yeah.
After Node Weekend and Meebits Cafe. So yeah, we'd love to hear about, what that was like for you finding the perfect Meebit as you described it. And, love to get your outsider take or new community member take on Meebits themselves.
Yeah, look, I've been meaning to buy a Meebit for a long time. You and I have been friends a long time. I've been wanting to support you for a long time. It's been this inevitability for me. But the thing is that if I'm going to buy something like that, especially given the Larva Labs, connection to Punks, I needed to find the right one. And there have actually been a few times where I've tried in the past to find the right one. And I've sent out, DMs and try to connect with people on Twitter and be like, would you sell this? Or I put an offer out and I just haven't really hit. And then I got back from the Meebits brunch and, you and I, talked a bunch out there and I'm, looking at the Meebits pins that, were in my bag. And I'm just like, damn it. Like, I really do need to find the right Meebit. And so I just got on my laptop and I sent out a bunch of messages. And then I actually got a response from one of the ones that I was most excited about. And before I know it, I was able to, pick it up on OpenSea, which was great. And so, if you look at the Meebit that I bought, it looks exactly like my Punk. And that made me really happy. And if you look through my wallets, you'll tend to notice that, back when, I was using my Ape as my PFP, like I wouldn't buy anything unless it had a blue background or a leather jacket. Like it all needed to be connected. And, definitely buying a Meebit. If I'm going to get a Meebit, it's got to be one that looks like it belongs, shoulder to shoulder with my Punk, which is my digital identity now. And so was really excited to find the right one. Of course, really excited to support you. I mean, I love what you're doing with the brand. I love the, level of support that you're showing to digital art. I love that you're showing up at all these events. I love the statues that you're building. And I saw them at, the Marfa event, of course. And, then the one that you were selling at, Art Basel. And I think I saw that you guys did a custom one that is coming up in a couple of weeks. And with the little owl.
We did actually.
Man, that looks freaking cool.
We made it for Qatar.
It's creative. And I love that you continue to build, you continue to try things, you continue to innovate. You're obviously in the space for, all the right reasons. And it means a lot to be able to show even a small amount of support.
Well, thank you so much. And by the way, like I always say, I'm just a pretty face. Really, all the hard work and all the stuff that goes behind the scenes is, the whole team, the Meepco team that just like the OpenSea team, they're just working, day in, day out over the weekend. Sometimes we forget that it's a Sunday or a Saturday. And yeah, shout out to Bojangle Guy and Bailey, Estan, and Token Juggler. Who really, like I said, they're the muscle, and they're really, obviously Bailey with his creations. To your point, the sculpture that we made for Art Basel Qatar was a limited edition. They sent us an email yesterday. The fair doesn't open till tomorrow morning, but they have like VIP preview and then like the VIP preview, which was yesterday. And we sold out of the limited edition sculpture within 2 hours.
Wow. So congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. It was a really good, outcome. And definitely appreciate guys like yourself and girls and everybody who comes in and like really spends the time to find the perfect Meebit. Because for me, two things that you mentioned that really brought me back to like the good days of 21, which are the long lost art of finding the perfect NFT and going through like DMs and offers, like really trying to connect with the person. Reminds me of like being, 13, going, the Pokemon League was held at Toys R Us back in Brownsville, Texas, which is across the border where I lived. I would get dropped off at the bridge and then walk like a mile and a half to go to the Toys R Us and the league. But then, the cards that you wanted, you had to find the kit that had the same card and like negotiate, and maybe they wouldn't do it that week. And next week you had to come back. So that just brought me right back. The other thing is, to your point, right? Like the provenance of Larva Labs and Punks and Meebits being kind of like a natural evolution of where their body of art, like work of art, is going. It's really cool when people come in and really take the time to find the perfect one. So
did you experience, I think we talked about this at the Node event, but for those that are not familiar, they had this big gumball machine that was filled with CryptoPunks physical pins, and they matched the rarity of the collection. And so there was one alien, I think a few zombies, and then there was, albino was rarer than, regular, other color skin types. And basically you would buy these tokens from the front, and they started off at $4.20. And I think over time, based on supply and demand, went up to $15. And then people would put them in the machine and you'd get your one pen, and most people would get commons, and then you'd try to build sets. And so I was literally hanging out by this machine for like an hour and a half at the event, trying to collect a full set of the original 8 pins, because there are 4 male and 4 female of different skin colors. And I knew that I wasn't going to get the zombie or the, alien or things like that, but I wanted to walk away and get a full set because like it just felt like the thing to do inside of the event. And it took me back to like the days of 2021 when I was trying to do the exact same thing. Like I had my Bored Ape, full set with the mutants, and then I had to find the, doggo that, matched the rest of the set. And I would do that with a variety of other collections. And of course now with, Pokemon cards and everything else. And it was so cool to do that with like physical collectibles at this giant gumball machine that was on site at the Node event. And I think there's only going to be like a few dozen full sets that ever exist out of that. And who knows, I'll hold on to it 10 years and maybe one day I'll trade it for another punk or something like that.
It's as I mentioned at the beginning, right? I see you as one of like the collectors, like folks that think that way and appreciate, building sets and stuff. I had an opportunity to stop by Node the night prior to the opening. There was like a little preview for family and friends, and we got to use the gumball machine. And nobody really reacted the same. We were like, oh, nice, like a nice little pin that I can wear through the weekend. It wasn't until you and I think it was Nate Alex, we were like, wait a minute, these are collectibles. They're limited. They're physical. They're here. And, had like an impact where it became what it is now, where people are trying to put the sets together and stuff. And that, I remember sitting down at Punk's brunch on Sunday, just finally like having some time to like, relax a little bit. And I saw the pins and somebody was like, did you hear what Adam and Nate did? And I was like, damn, man, what a difference. What a difference. Like really true collectors that enjoy.
Everybody's coming up to me at the event and they want to talk. And I'm like, hold on a second. I got to see what's coming out of this person's ball. Like I really need the albino pin. Like
Amazing. We need that. We need a lot more of that. I would hope that other projects, and everybody's obviously trying to survive. I think, there's no such thing as a revenue meta. It's like being a business and trying to just make sure that you have enough runway. Everybody's trying, different shots on goal. And I think that's great. Folks are going a bunch of different directions, but I would hope that we never forget what we're here for, which is really the joy of collecting digital assets that you can identify with, that can represent you, being able to see global distributed communities through the internet, something that for me was really like the difference maker when I came into Punks, and just finding new folks to like talk to online after being locked up because of COVID for the better part of like a year and a half. And so, I as I'm thinking of all the stuff that you said about OpenSea and the future and what you guys are building, I would hope that together as an industry, we can build that level of enjoyment of collecting and profit making and whatever, but really at the core of it being the joy of almost childlike, where like you got your gold Charizard and you wake up early in the morning just to see it again, and really just enjoy this kind of thing. So I don't think it's that easy to recreate, and we have the opportunity here to do it and do it in a really cool way.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, this has been really, really fun. I'm excited to go and look at my Pokemon cards again. Maybe I'll open one of my Japan packs that I have there in the drawer, in the nightstand, just to like see what the new obviously I cannot read Japanese.
Oh, do it live. That'd be fun.
That's another. we'll do like a space or something for that one. But this has been amazing. This has really been a lot of fun. It's great to finally get you guys on the podcast. We're really just enjoying documenting, growing Meebits and creating Meepco, but also being part of the industry and having leaders like you personally, and then OpenSea is really important for us. So thank you so much for giving us the time. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to leave the audience with. Any like final words?
No, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the invite. Of course, extremely supportive of everything that you and your team are building. Please let us know if there's anything else that we can do to continue to support. On the OpenSea side, it's going to be a really fun couple of months. And so, of course, we've got OS Mobile coming, we've got Perps coming, we've got TGE on the horizon. And so I think it's going to be a really good year, and look forward to the next time we get to sit down in person, grab a beer.
Awesome. Likewise. And we have a Meebits something coming up on OpenSea too here in a few weeks. So it's going to be an exciting time for both teams. So again, thank you, Adam, so much for being here today. Thank you for being such a pillar of the space. Thank you to OpenSea for your support and your partnership. And thank you everybody for listening to the Meebits Podcast. We'll see you again in the next episode.
Thanks, brother.